Hello everyone, and welcome back to my third Halloween special. I'm sorry I haven't been really posting anything at all. College, life. When I'm able, I'll start doing my regular videos again. Until then, just keep patient with me, I'm sorry. Anyway, today for Halloween special, we are reading A Nucken and a Huldra by Igglybo on DeviantArt. I'm still learning Norwegian, so it's not my first language. Sorry if I mispronounce it. He peered at the serene-looking waters through the leaves. It looked safe, and all the stories claimed the creature only woke at night. But still, he was reluctant to approach. But it was a long walk back to the village well, and he couldn't afford to leave his kiln that long. The fire might burn wild, ruining his charcoal yield completely. The man considered his options, wondering if he could just ignore the thirst. But it was a hot day, and feeding the fire only made the heat worse. He knew he couldn't risk fainting out in these woods. He might never wake up. Very cautiously, he took a step out of the trees, gripping the handle in his bucket tightly, holding it in front of him as if it would protect him. He cursed again, the bird whose sudden alarming cry had startled him enough to knock over his water bucket. He took a deep breath and slowly approached the water, ready to bolt if anything moved. The sunlight sparkled off of the gently flowing water, and birds sang in the trees above. It was almost too perfect. The man ignored the peaceful setting and dunked his bucket as soon as he was close enough to the water's edge. Then he turned on his heel sharply, spilling a little of the water over himself in the process, and scurried for the relative safety of the tree line. Then the birds fell silent, and the music hit him. It was like a wave engulfing him, making his thoughts seem distant. All he knew was its beauty. He turned. There in the water stood the Nucken, waist deep in the clear water, playing the sweetest of tunes on an exquisitely ornate violin. The Nucken's bare skin was unpleasant, mottled gray in appearance, and though his dark black-blue hair was thick, wild, tangled, and matted with mud, his features had a delicate, refined look. His eyes were focused on the instrument he played expertly. They glowed a faint green in daylight, adding to his otherworldly appearance. The creature was an unsettling mixture of beauty and ugliness, his wildness at odds with the sophistication of his playing and the gentleness of his expression. He seemed focused only on the music, as if unaware of his captive audience. The song he played seemed to whisper to the charcoal burner in a soft, sweet voice. It urged the man to approach the player, to get closer to that beautiful sound. He took an involuntary step forward towards the water. Then the memory of 100 stories surfaced through the stupor. They screamed at him, reminding him what happened to those lured by the Nucken. He hesitated, but the lure of the music was strong. Struggling to think, he willed himself to take a step back, but the insidious voice of the music whispered again. How can you drown in water so shallow? The Nucken is only waist deep. You could stand in it. You can't be enchanted if you can still see the danger. There's no harm in going closer to listen. The man nodded to the silent voice, and slowly approached the water's edge. The water was clear and pure, and the stones of the bed were clearly visible. It looked shallow. He stepped off the edge. As the freezing water closed over his head, he realized too late the refraction of the clear water was all that made the stones appear close. The chill drove away the magic of the song, and knowing his mistake, he swam for the surface, but his head clearing the water for just long enough to take a gasping breath. He saw the Nucken smirk at him and speed up his music. Then reeds that had not been there a moment before snaked from the depths, tangling around his wrists and ankles, pulling him back under. Water filled his nose and mouth as he panicked, thrashing in the water against the reeds as he grew, weaker and weaker. His last air was spent, his lungs burning. Desperate for air, he gasped for breath, only to inhale more water. Darkness ate away at his vision, engulfing him. The Nucken smiled smugly, and let the last notes of his song fade as the limp body floated to the surface. The reeds he had summoned snaked back into the river bed as the spell of the music ceased. The current in the brook was slow, and the body floated at a gentle pace to the edge of the water, where it was caught upon a large rock that protruded into the water's course. A woman prodded the body cautiously with her toe, from the safety of the rock. She had long, messy ginger hair, pale skin, and a long tail protruding from her short, tattered skirt of her ragged dress. The tail was coated in very short, fine ginger hair, with a darker ginger tuft of hair on the end. She flicked it agitatedly. She looked about 18, but she seemed younger. There was fear and uncertainty in her bright, turquoise eyes. The Nuckin smiled at her. "I Huldra. I haven't seen one of your kind around here in many seasons. I thought you all retreated further into the woods. Where is your clan?" he wondered, watching her every move carefully. The Huldra ignored the question, intent on searching through the pockets of the floating body. Now she was sure he was dead. She found a purse and sifted curiously, emptying the coins into her hand. She examined the markings on her feet before tossing them into the water. She sniffed the leather again. Cow? "Oh yes, they make things from dead animals. I've seen some of their nobles with really intricate designs on it. Humans have many flaws, but they can make death quite beautiful," remarked the Nuckin, still watching the girl. She shrugged and found a sheathed knife, pulling it off the belt. She drew it and examined the blade, tasting it with her tongue. "Bones of the earth, damaged by fire, made tame and shaped for them," she muttered. "Well, fire is their ally, I suppose. It admires them. They are the only thing more destructive than the flames themselves, after all. Always hungering, always burning. Devouring forest soul. But for the humans it loves, it will sit in the hearth, look like a well-behaved dog, cook some food, shapes their tools, eager for them to feed it more." The Nuckin shook his head in disgust. It raised them up from apes and unleashed them all on nature. Now their axes tear down our forests to feed it. The Huldra shuddered slightly. They fed my family to the flames," she replied in a quiet voice. "Ah, so your clan stayed on the edge of the forest. I know they burnt some to clear it," inquired the Nuckin. The Huldra nodded, staring at the knife again. The Nuckin played a few sad notes on his violin, his eyes fixed on her face. The magic started to wash over the Huldra, but its effects were far weaker than it had been on the human. Before it could sway her, she snatched a pebble and threw it at the Nuckin, who lowered his bow. "Just testing if it would work. You can't blame me for wanting to add such a pretty creature to my collection." The Huldra hissed at him, but he just smiles, disarmingly in response. "So you're all alone now?" he inquired, curiously. The girl nodded again, her tail drooping. "It won't be easy to find the others. They are hidden deep in the woods. You could search forever and always be alone," he warned. She shrugged, wishing for a change of subject. "Why a violin? Where do you even keep it?" she asked. The Nuckin smiled and closed the hand, holding the violin as it dissolved into water. "A mere illusion. An affectation of magic designed to lure the humans. Much like your beauty, it's simply a pleasant-looking trap," he replied calmly. "So you're kind of protectors of the wilderness, just like the Huldra? A sort of Ra?" she asked. The Nuckin shrugged. "So it'd seem." "So what's your name?" "I'm Ginlof," she told him. The Nuckin laughed scornfully. "Name? Names are for humans. Nature needs no name. Your kind are far too much like them. No wonder my magic still affects you," he smirked. The Huldra frowned, a little hurt by his scorn. "Well, you need a name. Don't you get confused when you talk to the other Nuckin if you don't use names?" "Anyway, my parents gave me my name, and I like it," she answered defensively. The Nuckin scoffed. "Nuckin don't meet other Nuckin. We can't leave the waters that gave birth to us. Parents are such a human concept. I have always wondered if perhaps your kind did mix with the humans. There are stories they tell. The Huldra disguises herself as a human, as a proper Christian wedding, with a human she loves. It off drops her tail and wish to be human is granted. She even gets a soul." He recited in a sing-song tone. "Is that what you wish for?" Ginlof spat at the floor. "Those stories are lies. Humans are no wishful thinking." "We would never mix with their kind," she exclaimed in disgust. "We are spirits of nature, and we defend the wilderness they seek to destroy. They want to take the wilderness, so we give it to them. We lure them into the wild and let them try and survive. They rarely last one lunar cycle. We nearly wiped up the village before they burnt our forest. I was the only one that escaped. But there are only a few humans left there now." Well, well. Perhaps we aren't so different, responded the Nukin, sighing impressed. Gandalf smiled proudly. So, if you're never met another Muckin, do you ever get lonely? She asked. The Nukin gave her a thoughtful look. Approaching the edge of the water, I'm not sure I would know the feeling. Though I suppose if there's no chance for you to find the other Huldra, you could always stay here with me. We could be our own clan. It might well be the first time a Nukin has ever had a friend, he replied. The Huldra slid down from the rock, and crushed by the body looking thoughtfully. I suppose it would be nice to have at least one friend around here, she mused. The Nukin smiled. Then in a sudden lunge, gripped her ankle, pulling her into the water. She thrashed and struggled against him as he held her underwater, smirk on his face clearly visible through the clear waters. He spoke, his voice clear in spite of him being under the water with her. You really thought a Nukin would want to be your friend? So very human, so easily fooled. I don't kill to protect the wilderness. Nukin are not raw. I kill for the sheer joy. He laughed mockingly as she struggled, already starting to grow weaker. Her hand still held the knife she had taken from the body. Rearing it, she gripped tightly and slashed it hard as she could at the Nukin's chest. The creature's dark blue blood filled the water, obscuring his face. The Nukin fought to keep a hold of her, but when he tried to catch one arm, she pulled the other away. She slashed at his throat, cutting deep. They kicked him away from her, using the momentum to swim for the surface. Then she had only moments before he was after her. She scrabbled up at the rocks of the bank, trying to pull herself out. The Nukin surfaced and clutched at her ankle, but his grip was weaker now, and a well-aimed kick to the nose dislodged him. She crawled out of reach and collapsed, breathing heavily, overwhelmed with relief at the feel of air filling her lungs once again. The Nukin rose to the surface of the water, once again appearing to be only waist deep, the water running over his body, washing away the last of the blue blood as his wounds closed up. Tut tut. Using a human weapon, are we? How very domesticated of you. He sneered at her, unfazed by his failure. Ignoring him, Gandalf pushed herself weakly to her feet. Tying the knife onto the rag bill she wore, she headed away from the brook, deeper into the woodland, where her brother might be hiding. Thinking it would be better to search for them forever, spending another moment near the Nukin. Okay. So that was the story. I hope you all like it. I really like it because it shows that these folklore creatures, how they feel about humans, and they're kind of right how they feel about us. So I think the author captured that really well. That and I just like those folklore creatures. It's just a thing of mine I like. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll try to post more videos again. I don't really know what else to do right now. I'm kind of swamped with schoolwork and all that. So whenever I can make a video, I will and post it. Happy Halloween, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.